Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for another episode of Inside the Ark. We so appreciate your comments. We get to dive deep for about 20 minutes into a message, a word that God's been giving this house, but we want your input for sure. So Jason, thanks for joining us.
No problem.
Becky.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
All right, this one is called Make Jesus Famous. Now, why is that even a thing? Where does that even come from? People I've heard say, you can't make Jesus famous. He's already famous. Well, here's Mark 1 and verse 28. And immediately his fame spread throughout all the region around Galilee. Mark 1:28. So can his fame still spread or not? Is our question. And of course it can. So we're going to be a part of that. And we use the phrase make Jesus famous because it's our intentional desire to see his fame spread throughout all of the region around Galilee. And just a side note for all my prophetic friends, the word Galilee means revolution. So there you go. All right, let's talk about what it means to make Jesus famous. This is a message and a download that I got. Again, we're going to hit it briefly. You can look at the link in the show notes for the full message. What's the first thing that comes to mind, you guys? Start with you, Becky, when you think of make Jesus famous.
Initially, what comes to my mind and what was when you were talking was it's a reminder to me of where I live from. Because do I live from me? Or do I live from Christ in me? And when I'm going to make Jesus famous, I'm going to live from Christ in me to bring heaven to earth. And it just helps to remind me of that.
Super good. Jason.
I think that we are witnesses in how we live our lives and how we act before what comes out of our mouth and before the things that we do.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. But at home, I need to have a good reputation in my home and with my kids and my family, or at least strive for that in order to go outside the walls and make disciples of nations. And because if I'm a hypocrite, then people are that's going to show badly on Jesus, right?
Yeah, right.
So I think that it, like Becky was just saying, it starts with ourselves first internally. Mm-hmm. And as we talked about, there was a couple of, whenever we filmed the last episode about being in sync with God's heartbeat.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the cadence.
Yes.
Yeah, the cadence.
Yeah. That's good. So I love what you guys are saying because it does begin with you. If the fame of God, or let's just say the love of God, here's what the apostles said about themselves. Jesus had ascended into heaven and they were like, wow, the love of God was shed abroad in our hearts. That was wild. Just kind of like the guys on the road to Emmaus.
Right.
In Luke 24, did not our hearts burn within us while he talked to us? Mm-hmm. It's like something happens on the inside before we go out and make Jesus famous into purpose. His fame and love gets to sort of shed abroad in our own hearts.
Yeah, that's kind of like what you were saying. You know, if you're not making Jesus famous in your home with your children and your wife, then how are you going to do it out in public if it's not happening there? Like it's got to be an outflow of identity, an outflow of who you are. It's an outflow of, but it's got to be something that isn't practiced in the sense of, let me put on that make Jesus famous hat. I do have one of those, by the way, and I love it. But it's just an outward flow of an inward life with him.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Out of the abundance of your heart, your mouth speaks.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
For sure. And what if making Jesus famous is one thing for one person and another thing for another person? So for instance, we have this beautiful young girl in our church who God has, love. She just exudes love. She's just like this hugger. She comes and she's like, what are you doing? How are you? And she's so loving. And she's currently in a wheelchair. but that doesn't stop her. Like, she'll crawl all over the place. She'll use that wheelchair, and we're just like, we know, heaven has a plan for that. But for her, making Jesus famous looks different than it might for someone else. So how do you know how God is speaking to you in how he's like, make me famous like this? What does that look like?
Yeah. I love that, Becky, because that keeps us connected to God every day.
Yeah.
It keeps us connected to the indwelling Holy Spirit. For somebody, it might be, hey, you're out at, whatever, Costco, and you are helping someone with a runaway cart. Or, helping
right.
a lady lift stuff in the car, or, whoever it may be. There's going to be opportunities to do that every day. It's not always in word. It's not from the pulpit always. It can be from a social media platform. We can have social reformers like that. I love that, where it's a word of encouragement or some kind of strength that we bring to a situation. But I believe we hit the nail on the head that it actually does start with being impacted by his love and then going in and impact by his love. There's so many people out there saying stuff, but what are we doing that actually releases the love of God? So I think that is the foundation of making Jesus famous. We're going to go into the strategy here in a second, but I think that's where it starts. What do y'all think?
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. I think too, like this little young girl, her impact is this love, and she just, and the way she can do it, and she's very purposeful, is a hug, or she'll lean her head on you or something like that. And I have seen how people respond to her, and they just like melt like butter, because they're like, oh, she's coming and she's like loving on me, and but that's her way of making Jesus famous. And that's her, she's not looking to run a marathon. She is not looking to be a part of, having so much knowledge by going to school. And, it's just simply the lean of her head on someone, or hugging them. And like, just that is, it's so powerful. And I think sometimes I make it harder than what it really is, but if we are connected to God, I am convinced that we will, in every day, and I practice this. I will practice this. I will practice in the morning. I will say, what are we doing today, God? And sometimes it's just, I want you to pray about this person, and I want you to pray these things or lift them up. Sometimes I just get a picture. Like today, I got a picture. I was supposed to wear this shirt, that kind of thing. I don't know why, but wow. God, has a reason for that. I got a picture of purchasing something for someone, and I had no idea of what was happening in the background,
right. Yeah.
But I just knew I needed to buy something for that person. And when I bought it, they weren't even there. I left it, I dropped it off, I made it, functional and everything. And they responded later and said, you don't even know. I had this dream and it was like horrible. And I thought you were mad at me, kind of thing. And then you bring this flower, and it was just God telling me. And she goes, I knew you weren't mad at me, but it was the devil convincing me that I am worthy of rejection, and that God is actually mad at me. And by just dropping off that gift, that was making him famous, because her response from it was, this is what was so powerful. Her response was, now I am even more convinced that Jesus isn't mad at me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That he loves me, and I am accepted, and I am not rejected. And I'm like, it was a simple thing. But as I'm looking for that daily, how do I make you famous moment, it is coming into alignment with him, and it is blessing people more than I even know.
Okay, so have you ever been going about your day you were just doing whatever you were doing, and you weren't aware that God had a plan to make Jesus famous through you.
Yes.
And you roll up on this situation,
Yes.
the cereal aisle.
Oh, yeah. No, that is awesome because you're not coming into the situation like I was ready, prepared, knew it was from him.
Yeah.
It's just sideswiping you almost. And like you're in a moment of thinking that you're just going to go get cereal. And then all of a sudden there's a moment. That is what I think, also what you were talking about, Jason, it comes out of you beyond what is practiced. It just oozes out of us. It's just Jesus oozing out of us. And in those moments, I think those are the most powerful and pivotal because other people are watching. And you don't even know who those other people are necessarily. Sometimes you can get a glimpse of that. Sometimes God just goes, brings somebody to you that is like telling you, you didn't know this, but I was watching and this and this and this and this. But oftentimes we don't even know the impact. And yet it's there, but it's just coming out of the abundance of our natural of who we are, the essence of who we are.
Okay, so I'm hearing you say there's two kinds of ways to make Jesus famous, and there's probably 1,000, but two kinds that we're talking about, and that is one where it's intentional.
Yeah.
You wake up and God puts on your heart, hey, this is what I want you to do. So we get that download in the moment. Hey, I want to bless someone. Our staff is intentional. We text people every week, and there's that moment. And some people like that, some people don't like that, but we feel like God is intentional. And then there are those spontaneous shoot from the hip type of moments where I'm hearing you say you just sort of happen onto a moment, Jason, where you hadn't actually planned for that, and most likely you're busy and you don't have time for what he's telling you to do. How do you roll with that? How do you, on one hand, be intentional to make Jesus famous, or on the other hand, be aware enough to shoot from the hip when he says, hey, here's a moment I created for you that you weren't aware of?
Well, I'll definitely say that shooting from the hip is not my strong suit.
What?
I operate from preparation. So the way I prepare is my wife and I, we remind each other every day, hey, did you pray your alignment prayer today? Did you ask for grace for today? So I have to start by intentionally aligning myself with Holy Spirit every morning. And I talk to myself and I say, okay, I want my spirit to lead today under the guidance of Holy Spirit, and my soul needs to follow that, and then my body to try, to operate in alignment. Because if you're not in alignment, you're not going to have the ability to, you might be able to shoot from the hip, but you're not going to hit anything. So then it's just relying on his guidance in that. But I think a lot of times I've led with my soul. And I'll be in the middle of something and I'll just be frustrated. God, why do you have me here? Why am I doing this or that or whatever? And what was coming to my mind is a job I had a while back, a few years ago, where I had to go into crawl spaces, and I would get very claustrophobic, full on panic attacks, heart beating through my chest, and just horrible. And I wanted everything in me had to get out. And one day I was like, God, why do you have me here? And he says, well, who else am I going to send into that house to pray over that house? They're not Christians. How am I going to get somebody in there?
Wow.
I'm like, oh, so I didn't recognize the mission.
Yeah.
The mission can change.
Yeah.
If I go up to random people and hug them like that little girl, that's weird. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. Right. It's not gonna be perceived the same.
There's this weird man who came up to me and hugged me. Yeah.
But that wasn't the mission at that time.
Yeah.
So obedience, I feel like the obedience really starts when we don't want to be obedient.
Yeah.
That's when, here on earth, this is our proving ground.
Come on.
This is where the only chance in eternity where I get to say, God, I had a choice and I chose you. Because once we're in heaven, that choice is very different.
Right.
But here, this is my proving ground. This is where I get to say, yes, Lord, let me do this for you.
Wow. For our purpose-driven friends, I love the Great Commission. And that is go into all the world and preach the gospel, Jesus said to his disciples, right? Teaching them to observe and obey all that I've commanded you. And then he goes on and he says the greatest line in the Great Commission, and that's the last line. And lo, I am with you always. Like wherever you go, presence.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what you're doing. Doesn't matter where you are. Just remember that greatest line. And lo, I am with you always. Yeah. That's the greatest part of the Great Commission. Aside from purpose is presence. And when we mix our purpose with presence, we understand, okay, Lord, why am I under this house right now? Why am I at this store? Why did I get this picture of you telling me to go buy somebody something intentional? And we don't always think that that's actually making Jesus famous, but isn't that amazing where he gives us downloads that give people kisses from heaven?
Totally. Okay, so you and I were having a discussion this morning, and I'm trying to reference it right now because there was something that we had talked about that went through this a little bit, but so bear with. It was making Jesus famous. This is what clicked in me, is that if we're bringing peace, clarity, truth, hope, and love, it's not ours, it's his.
Yeah.
And those are ways that we can make Jesus famous.
Wow.
So no matter what situation we're in, it is a thing that, that is a response that we can have to whatever is happening. And it can definitely make a difference and impact people's lives. But the other thing that you had said that I'm trying to get to really quickly, I mean, it was so good, guys. So hold on. I can't find it. I'll come back to it. You guys go. I'll come back to it.
Okay. So in regards to making Jesus famous, I want to hear your ideas. Those of you who are watching, in the link, or at least just think this through. In the comments, I want to hear how the Lord leads you. Like, because some of you are wired for pre-prep. Like you do get the downloads more. And some of you are fly by the seat of your Holy Spirit people. And so God is no doubt teaching us both. Hey, I want you to intentionally live a life where you expect me to use you. That is prep. Like, prophetic people, by the way, here's my plug, prepare the way of the Lord. The word prepare is in your job description. So there you go. And that I've had to learn. That what I just said has taken years of therapy. No, I'm teasing. Of Holy Spirit therapy teaching me to be prepared, because I can tend to be fly by the seat. And I'm that kind of prophetic person that bubbles up. But there's also another word for the prophetic, not just to bubble up, but to walk with the Lord and develop something that happens with him speaking to you. So I kind of feel like both of us, both types of people are being challenged. The one who can hear God in the moment at Costco and not just be head down and, gosh, I'm here to get whatever you're here to get. But to hear the Lord. And then also the person who wakes up like you, Becky, that says, hey, Holy Spirit, what do you have for me today? And he begins to tell you in advance.
Okay, I found it, guys. Yes, that is so good. And this is like my last little thing. You are called to, and this is what you were talking about this morning. You are called to walk with God so closely that his world begins to flow through you. And when that happens, making Jesus famous is no longer something you try to do. It becomes something you naturally carry.
Oh, that is so good.
Yeah.
That is so good.
There you go.
All right, you guys, thanks so much for joining us on this episode of Inside the Ark. It is so important that we have a grid. Use your own words for it, but to make Jesus famous intentionally. To allow God to flow through us spontaneously in all of the ways that he does that, through a hug, a handshake, through something that we do for someone, to a prophetic word that we give, how you use your gifts and then get stretched even beyond what natural gifts you think you have. The point is, it's all about Jesus and not about drawing people to ourselves. So go have fun making Jesus famous. Remember, in the show notes, there's a link to the full message to go check that out and look for ways in that message practically to do what we're saying. Also, go to our website, eaglemountain.global, and make yourself aware of all of the other shows that we have. And while you're there, would you support us? Would you give to what we're doing so that we can continue being intentional about making Jesus famous? Love you all. We'll see you next time.